Assalamu alaikum, Sayyidi. I think you're muted.
Okay, Bismillah. Bismillah. Can everyone hear? Let me. Okay. Bismillah. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, but there seems to be some sort of echo.
Okay, I think I fixed the echo. Inshallah. Is it still there?
No.
Okay, Bismillah. So, Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. In our previous lessons, we've been looking at the mushtaqat, which are the derivative nouns, which are meanings derived from the original 3 root letters of the word, and then the meanings change and vary according to the pattern that you place them on. So we spent quite a bit of time on talking about the 2 most important, which are the ism fa'il and the ismul maf'ul. Right? How to make them in form 1, right? Following the pattern of fa'ilun, and then maf'ulun, right? And then how to make them in forms 2 to 10. Okay. 2 to 10, right? And then that's going to be right according to the mudari'. Right, so we're not going to write that out. We talked about other types. This is just what we took from last week. We talked about other types of derivative nouns, right, in previous lessons, such as ism al-fa'il, ism al-maf'ul. We talked about the ism al-makan slightly. Does anyone remember how do you make ism al-makan? Right, the noun of place.
Is it on the pattern of maf'al? Maf'alun.
Exactly. Maf'alun. Maf'alun. Right, so that means the place, and it also could mean the time. Right, so maf'al, and so when you say, like, for instance, mawlid, right, mawlid could be the place where someone is born, right, or the time when someone is born. Right, so commemorating the time of the Prophet's birth is the mawlid, or the place would be Mecca. So ism makan. So these are the most important ones. We haven't talked yet about the ism al-ala. Okay, ism al-ala is mif'alun for the most part, right? And it represents the tool by which something is done. So this is the noun of instrument or tool. Right, so like, for instance, the miftahun is a key because it's the tool by which you do fataha. Right, misbah comes from the words subuh, which means light. Right, usually used for the early morning light. Misbah is a lamp, right, a tool by which you get light, right, and so forth. We talked a little bit about sifatun mushabbaha, but not much. Sifatun mushabbaha is the resembling adjective, right, and this portrays a quality that is lasting, that is not just temporary, right? So, like, for instance, ism al-fa'il the action that's inherent in the word is only meant to be temporary. So if I said darib, right, a person who's a darib, right, that means they're a hitter, but that means at the moment they're a hitter, but it doesn't mean that all they do in their life is hit, right? Whereas the sifa mushabbaha, right, if you called somebody darib, right, then that means that they're abusive. Right? They always hit, right? So these are more permanent qualities as opposed to the ism al-fa'il. This is just a quick overview of what we've done. We have not talked about the ism al-mubalagha. Ism al-mubalagha means emphatic noun. So the emphatic noun, the ism al-mubalagha, is a pattern of different types of patterns that if you put your root letters on that pattern, it gives an emphatic version of that thing. This is similar to the ism al-tafdil. Who can recall what ism tafdil is? Anyone?
The superlative noun?
Superlative noun. What does it do?
When you're comparing one noun to another?
Good. Right, so the superlative noun, the ism tafdil, is a comparison of one thing to another. Right, so it does entail like that there's an emphasis on the root letters, right? So the root letters here is kabir. Kabir means big, right? Or either physically or in status. But akbar means bigger. Okay, so there is an emphasis, but it's in comparison. It's not an emphasis, an intrinsic emphasis. Whereas ism al-mubalagha is not a comparison, right? So if I said, for instance, let's put 3 words here. Right, let's put 2 words. Okay. This first word here, what kind of derivative noun is it?
A fa'il.
Fa'il, right? So ism al-fa'il. So what are the root letters? So if you take out all the letters, sorry?
Kaf, tha and ba.
Good. Kaf, tha, and ba. And so kaf, tha, and ba. Kadhib means a lie. Kadhibun means a lie. All right, so this is the noun that these words are derived from. So kadhibun means a lie. Kadhibun means a
Liar.
A liar. Good. All right, so now kadhib could be a person who lies even if they just lied once, right? If you have a friend, they never lie, but this time they did, you could say anta kadhib, right? Or anti kadhiba, even though you shouldn't. But you would be right if you were to say kadhiba, right? Or kadhib, because they are a liar at that moment. They are a liar. But a kadhab is a person who's known, right? Who's excessively lying, right? This is a person who is, right, constantly lying, or habitual liar, right? So liar with a capital L, right? So here you have an emphasis on the fact that they lie, but it's not in comparison to somebody, right? You're not saying that Zaydun, right, akdhabu min Amr, right? You're not saying that, right, Zayd is more of a liar than Amr is. Right, so you're not comparing to anyone else, but you're saying Zayd is the biggest liar. Right, so he himself is a big liar, not necessarily because we're comparing him to someone. Okay. Right, so this ism al-mubalagha, right, it has a few different forms. Right, so let's just move this for a second. out of the way. Okay, so some of the forms, that the most common form is fa'al. Fa'alun. Okay. Now, a lot of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are on this type of word, right? So one of the names of Allah is Ghaffar. Oops. Ghaffarun. So how would you translate the sentence Allahu Ghaffarun? Allah is Ghaffar. How do you translate Ghaffar?
The most forgiving.
Most forgiving. Good. Right, most forgiving. Right, now Allah describes the slave, right, in some places in 3 different ways. And this is actually really cool. The scholars of tafsir talk about this, that the human is, right, in some verses, the human is dhalimun. In other verses, the human is dhallamun. And in another verse, the human is dhalumun. Right? Whereas Allah is ghafirun, ghaffarun, and ghafurun. Okay, so these are actually levels of emphasis. So what does dhalim mean?
The oppressor?
The oppressor, right? Somebody who does wrong. Good. Right? And how would you translate ghafir?
The forgiving or the forgiver?
Forgiver. Good. Forgiver. Right? Oppressor or wrongdoer. Now the next few words are going to have the same exact translation, except that you're going to have to account for the type of word it is. Right? So ghaffar is an emphatic noun, whereas ghafurun is sifatu mushabbah, that resembling adjective. It's a permanent quality. So it's actually the most emphatic of all the 3. Right? So the first one is ismul fa'il. Right? You have some quality being ascribed, but not in any emphasis. Then ghaffarun, dhallamun would be, right, most oppressive, you can say. Right? And then ghafurun and dhalumun, ghafurun would be all forgiving. It's all encompassing. And dhalumun would be right, extremely oppressive, for lack of a better translation. But you can see the grades of emphasis in the wording. Now, all of these are derivative nouns. Okay? Ghaffar specifically being the ismul mubalagha in this case. Right, so you have a lot of the names of Allah, Ghaffar, Sattar, like the one who often covers the sins, Sattarun, Qahharun, right, the overpower, Jabbarun, and so forth. Okay? Any questions on those? So we have Ism al-Fa'il, Ism al-Maf'ul, Ism al-Makan, Ism al-Ala, Sifat al-Mushabbaha, Ism al-Mubalagha. Right, we did Ism Tafdil. Right, over here, we just shrunk it. Right, and then, yeah. Is there any questions on those? Because today we want to kind of focus on the forms. Just wanted to get that review out of the way.
Well, I have a question.
Sure. Tafaddal.
You said Ghaffar is one of the forms of Ismul Mubalagha. Are there any other forms, or is it just that one?
Generally, it's that pattern.
Okay.
That pattern. Right, so fa'alun, right? The tashdid on the first, and it can be made feminine if you're comparing something else.
Okay.
So, like obviously, if it was like, for instance, a lot of occupations are put on this scale, are put in the emphatic noun template, right? So if you are a pilot, right, ta'ir, right, is a plane, but the tayyar, right, ta'ir is anything that flies, something that flies. Tayyar is a pilot, right? So tayyar is a pilot. Sayyad is a fisherman, right? Tabbakh is a chef, right? So they use a lot of occupations on this. The only difference would be that if it was a woman, like for instance, a woman chef, she would be tabbakha. Right? Otherwise, the form stays the same. The form is always fa'alun, right? And even fa'alun is in the Qur'an, right? Allah is fa'alun lima yurid. Right? Allah absolutely does whatever He wants. May Allah make it. Inshallah. Okay, so there's one other noun that is very important, and we're going to bridge this with our review of the forms, which I hope everyone had a chance to do. And if anyone did get a chance to do the kind of take-home practice of Surah Al-Nazi'at, we're going to do that too, inshallah. So the last noun that we wanted to talk about is the masdar. Masdar. Okay. Masdar is the root noun. Okay. This is, I believe in English, they have another name for this. The infinitive, I think it's called. The infinitive. Right, so it's a noun, right? But it contains, right? So this is the root letters of your noun, of your verb, are going to contain their own specific meaning. So for instance, if you want to say qawlun, qawlun means, right, to say or saying. Same thing like in English. Naumun is sleeping, right? Right, to sleep or sleeping. So you can use it as a verb, or you can use it as a noun, or you can use it with a verbal kind of meaning in it, right? So you can say, uhibbu an-nawm, I love sleep. So in this situation, is sleep a noun or a verb? I love sleep, or I love to sleep. Is it a noun or a verb?
It's a noun.
It's a noun. Good. All right. What major thing does it not have that would make it a verb?
It doesn't have a tense.
Exactly. It doesn't have a tense. Right now, every single verb has a root noun. Every single verb has a root noun. Right. From form 2 to 10, those root nouns are set in stone. There's only certain patterns for the root nouns of those forms. Right. So if we actually, I can try to bring it up here. How do I bring that up? Just 1 second. No. Sorry. Okay. Can everyone see the screen? Okay. So if you look in this column, in the middle column, where it says masdar. Okay. Can everyone see? So, okay, so if you look on the far right, it says form 1, form 2, form 3, form 4. Okay, so I want you to be able to navigate this this table. Everyone, I believe this was shared with everyone. Does anyone not have it? So, okay, so what we did was we did form, right? for each form, we put the masdar. But as you'll see is the first form doesn't have anything. And the first form doesn't have any masdar. It says non-applicable. Right? Whereas from 2 to 10, every single one has a specific masdar, or at least one. So you'll see forms 2 and 3 both have more than one, whereas the rest have only one. So memorizing these masdars are very important. Very important. Right? So if I said for instance, a word called like takbir. What does takbir mean? Oops. What does the word takbir mean? Anyone know what takbir means? Okay, takbir means to say Allahu Akbar. Okay, so if you notice here, if I say takbir, all right, let's use an easier word, a less jargony word. What does ta'lim mean? Anyone? Ta'limun. Right, like taf'ilun.
To study or to teach?
To teach, good, to teach. All right, so to teach is a noun. Okay, but because it follows the pattern of form 2, if you wanted to look this word up, what letters would you look for?
Ain Lam Mim.
Ain Lam Mim. Right, so those are the extra letters. So now, how would you say this in past tense? He taught, for instance.
Allama.
Allama. Right, so this is all coming from your knowledge of the forms. Right, so if I were to write out form 2, right, it would be fa'ala, yufa'ilu, past tense. Sorry, that's a lamma. Right, past tense, present tense, masdar. What's the masdar of form 2? There's 2. Taf'ilun, like ta'limun. Taf'ilan. Wa fa'alan. They're made mansub for just per the pattern. Right, so if we were to do the same thing with these 3 letters, these 4 letters, sorry, 3 letters. Sallama. Can one of you say this, right? But replace the fa ain lam with sin lam mim instead. Can anyone do that? Just as a practice. You can read it. You don't have to do it from memory.
I can do it.
Okay. Tfaddal.
Sallama yusallimu tasliman wa salaman.
Good. Right, so tasliman and salaman. What does salam mean?
To give
Peace.
salam, to give
Yeah.
peace.
Yeah, to give peace, or literally to say assalamu alaikum. Right, so if you know that the word salam comes from form 2, right? Fa'al and salam right here. Fa'al here also on this chart. Fa'al, salam. Right, then you know that it's automatically form 2. Whenever you want to say the verb version of to give salam, you would go for sallama yusallimu. Right, so this is the method that we kind of started last week on how to memorize the forms. Right, so we just want to break it down a little bit more before we start to memorize it. All right, so first we have here past tense. Then you have the present / future tense. These 2 are what? What are they called? We just talked about them. Taf'il and fa'al
Masdar.
are masdar. Good. So root nouns. right? Only form 2 and form 3 have more than one. So normally you would just have one here. These are root nouns. And then at the end, we close by saying فهو.
مفعول.
فهو. Right, we're doing the active first. Right, فاعل. Or sorry, مفعل. Correct. Because that's the ism al-fa'il for form 2 is made from the mudari', which is yufa'ilu becomes mufa'ilun. Right, because we changed the ya to a meme and we make the last letter tanween. So this is the, right, and this is ism al-fa'il. Right, so if I were to do this quickly with the letters ayn, lam, mim, it would be allama, yu'allimu, ta'liman, wa alaman, fahuwa mu'allimun. Right, and this is all the active, and then obviously you can do it with the passive too, but at least we want to start with this. So fu'ila, yufa'alu, you guys can call out if you know the answer. Yufa'alu. The masters are the same because they're nouns. They don't do with the tense. Taf'ilan wa fa'alan. Fahuwa. Mufa'ilun. Okay. Right, so again, past, present, root nouns. Right, and then this is ismul maf'ul. Everything is the same except that the top is passive, the bottom is, the top is active, the bottom is passive. Does that make sense? Just as a kind of a layout? You don't have to know it by heart yet. Anyone have any issues with what we just wrote down? So, has anyone have a chance to memorize form 1? I know people have. Has anyone not been able to do it yet? Is anyone willing to read it now? Any volunteers?
Sure, you can read it. This is past tense form.
Yeah, so what we want to do is read past and present tense. But I'm going to give you the letters, inshallah. So let's say sajada. Right? And then the present tenses, yes, judu. Go ahead.
Okay. Sajada, sajada, sajadu, sajadat, sajadata, sajadna, sajati, sajatuma, sajatum, sajati,
After
sajadati,
after sajadna is what?
sajadata,
Sajadta.
sajata. So there's a sukun on the da.
Yeah.
Okay, sajata, sajatuma, sajatum, sajati, sajatuma, sajatunna, sajatu, sajatna.
So that's past tense, form 1. And how about present?
Yasjudu, yasjudani, yasjuduna, tasjudu, tasjudani, tasjudina,
Yes, judna.
tasjudna,
Yes, with a yeah.
Okay. Yasjudna, yasjudani, yasjuduna, yasjudina, asjudu.
The first 3 are yeah, then there's 2 tas, then a yeah, then everything else is ta. So yasjudu.
Okay,
yes.
can I restart?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yasjudu, yasjudani, yasjuduna. Tasjudu, tasjudani, yasjudna. Yasjuduna, yasjudina.
Tasjudu. It goes back to ta.
Okay, tasjudu.
Yeah.
Tasjudani. Tasjuduna. Tasjudina. يسجدن
تسجدان.
تسجدان تسجدون يسجدن أسجد نسجد.
MashaAllah. Yeah, so all right, so those are the long versions, right? So you have the past and you have the present. Now each form has that. On here we have, right, I put the beginnings of all of those, right? In the passive, the active and the passive for each one. But what we want to do is to transition that over to and be able to do it in this shortened form, right? So for form 1, it will be, if we're using sajada, it will be sajada yasjudu. What is the root noun of sajada? Anyone know?
There's no root noun.
No, so form 1 does have a root noun. It's just not a set pattern, right? So you have to look for it in the dictionary, which we'll try to go over. It's sajdatan, right? Or you can use sujudan, right? So sometimes form 1 you have options. So you don't need to use both, right? Sujud or sajda, they both mean the same thing. Okay, so sajda yasjudu sajdatan fahuwa. What is the ism al-fa'il of sajda? What form is it?
Sajid.
مسجود.
What form is sajda? Between 1 and 10?
Is it Sajid?
Sajid, good, right? Because ismul fa'il for form 1 is fa'ilun. So since the sajda is form 1, we put sajidun. Okay. Right, so that's the kind of the line that we want to memorize right there. That's all the active, right? The passive would be. So you can choose to try to do everything you know in the active first, because it's easier, right? Or you can just do both, learn both, right? Which is the ultimate goal anyway. Sajdatan fahuwa. What's the passive participle? Ismun maf'ul for this word?
Masjudun.
Masjudun. Good. Okay, so this is the form. The reason why I wrote it out is because we want to practice a little bit. Due to COVID and the online experience, it's kind of harder to practice, but we should be able to do this, inshallah. Right, so for form 1, the way you want to try to memorize it, obviously you would have already memorized, and you can hold yourself to this standard at least, that you should be able to say the past tense, the full scale, the present tense, the full scale, for each of the forms. Eventually, if not at the moment, then eventually, but at least you should have form 1 by now. Right, so you'd be able to say sajda yasjudu sajdatan fahuwa sajidun, wa sujida yusjadu sajdatan fahuwa masjudun. Right, so that's the basic summarization of all of the scales. The long version is to say sajda sajda sajadu sajdat sajdata sajadna sajadta sajdatuma sajdatum sajati sajdatuma sajdatuna sajatu sajadna yasjudu yasjudani yasjuduna tasjudu tasjudani yasjudna tasjudu tasjudani tasjudina, sorry, tasjuduna tasjudina tasjudani tasjudna asjudu nasjudu. Right, but once you don't have to keep doing that for every word, then it would be very long. Right, if you can just memorize this small paragraph for each form, then you have everything you need ever, right, for the 10 forms. So who would like to practice this model? But we're going to give new root letters, right? So I'll give you the new root letters, and I'll tell you what the root noun is for that form 1, because form 1, there's no set in stone root noun. You'd have to just discover it from the dictionary. Right, so let's, for instance, just use the word nafa'a. Nafa'a, right? And the mudara is yanfa'u. Right, and the masdar is naf'an. Okay, who would like to do this? Right, so you're going to do the same thing that's in the box, the same pattern in the box, but with these words. This is your past. This is your present. And this is your root noun. Anyone
I
volunteer? Okay, go ahead. تفضلي.
Okay, so نفع ينفع نفعا فهو نافع.
Good. Good.
نفع ينفع.
Good.
Then it's the same root noun فهو فهو sorry منفوع.
Good. Good, very good. Right, so نفع ينفع نفعا فهو نافع ونفع ينفع نفعا فهو منفوع. Right, so that was good. That was good. Let's any other next volunteer? I'll give a different word. Let's say صدقة يصدق صدقا. It means to tell the truth. Right? Siddiq is truth, right? Or to tell the truth. Sidi Shamim, would you like to try?
صدق يصدق صدقة فهو
صدقا.
صدقا فهو صادق.
Good.
يصدق.
Past tense first. How do you make it passive in the past tense?
يصدق.
How do you make صدقة passive?
يصدق.
No, that's present tense. How do you make the past tense passive?
صدق
صدقة.
يصدق
Good.
صدقا فهو مصدوق.
Good. صدق يصدق صدقا فهو صادق وصدق يصدق صدقا فهو مصدوق. Right, very good. So literally, if you spelled it out, it would mean he told the truth. He is telling the truth. So he is a truthful person. Right? It's a weird translation, but you have everything at your hands. Let's try the same thing with who else would like to go? Sister Huda?
كذب.
That's كذيبة.
كذب
كذيبة.
كذب يكذب كذبا فهو كاذب. كذب يكذب كذبا فهو مكذوب.
Good. Very good. Right, so that's form 1. We did just write down form 2. We can kind of steal this with our new technology. Just cut it. Yeah. So if we just doctored this up, get rid of all this extra stuff. And this is the same exact thing that we've been doing, but form 2. Okay, so we need 2 volunteers. Who would like to go before we explain what it is? Anyone?
I'll
I
volunteer.
can volunteer.
Okay, so those are our 2 volunteers. Let me just move this up slightly so that it's legible. Okay. Okay, so here we have Right, we have the chart for form 1 and we have the chart for form 2. Let's try to make this presentable. Okay, so this is form 2. Okay, so form 2, again, we have another, or there's two things that are different. One is there's a tashdid on the middle letter, right, throughout all of the different variants. And then this is one of the two unique forms that has more than one root noun, right? Form 1 doesn't, it has, every word in form 1 has a root noun, except the difference is that the root noun doesn't follow any specific pattern, right? And sometimes you may even have multiple root nouns for one word, right? Just now we just talked about sajda. You can, sajda and sujud are the same thing, right? Sajda, sajdatun and sujudun, they're the same word because they're both equally root nouns for form 1. Same thing, like for instance, du'a and da'wah, they're the same word. Right? What's another example? Right, we mentioned already, right? Tahleel and halal are the same words. What does halal mean?
Permissible.
Permissible. Right, so halalun, fa'alun. Right, so there's a lot of words that we know from form 2, like taslim, salam, salamu alaikum, halal, haram, and so forth. But they're one of the two forms of form 2, one of the two root nouns of form 2. Right, so we're going to use one word that, right, and apply it to both of these, form 1 and 2, but they're going to apply differently because of the necessary change to change a word from form 1 to form 2. So I'll write here in this little square what it is in form 1, right? But I won't tell you what it is in form 2 because it's already set in the template that's already there. Okay, who is, I'll write both. Salima. If anyone wants translations for anything, right, feel free to ask. Okay, so this means, right, to know. Form 1 is based on to know. Form 2 is to be safe. Okay. When you, sorry, these are both form 1 meanings. If you change it to form 2, you'll see how the type of translation changes. All right, so who is the first volunteer?
I can go.
Okay, تفضل. So first, Alima.
Allama, yu'allimu.
First, form 1. Form 1 first.
Allama,
Alima. Okay.
alima.
Okay.
Yes. Ya'lamu ilman fahuwa alimun.
Good.
Ulima yu'lamu ilman fahuwa ma'limun. Ma'lumun.
Good. Okay, so that's form 1. That means to know. So he knew, he does know. Ilm is knowledge itself. Alimun is the knower. Right? Ulima, it was known. Yu'lamu, it is known. Ilm is knowledge. Ma'lum is something that's known. So information is actually called ma'lumat. If you buy something on the back, it'll say ma'lumat, right? I think like it'll tell you how to use it or what more about the product. Okay, so let's do the same 3 letters. Ain, lam, mim in form 2.
Allama yu'allimu ta'liman wa علما فهو معلم علم يعلم
Good.
تعليم تعليما وعمل علما فهو معلم.
Good. Very good. Right. So allama yu'allimu form 2 means to teach, right? So it means to pass on knowledge. Right. So it still has the same sub meaning in it, which goes back to knowledge, but it's a difference of the forms. It changes the meaning slightly. Tamam. Now you will notice as you progress that not every form uses like for instance every word on form 2, right? Not every time they're going to have both taf'il and fa'al as their masdar, right? So there's no such thing as alamun, right, by itself, right? They don't use that. They use ta'lim to teach, but alam doesn't mean to teach. It's not used. Whereas some words you'll have both, like taslim and salam, right? They both mean the same thing, right? In the famous verse, where yusallimu tasliman, right? Yusallimu tasliman. Tamam. Tamam. Does everyone understand form 1 and form 2 so far? Anyone not understand form 1 and form 2? Or what a masdar is, what's the parts that make up these small scales? Right. Okay. Right. So go ahead.
Yeah, I probably missed this. Sorry, I was preparing. But anyway, so the mustar, like, how is there a way to form it? Because I know there's like it almost looks like there's like a lengthened aleph in there somewhere. Like, is there a way to form this?
You mean the alif on the end?
Yeah, like how to form the mustar. I probably missed it. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. Right. So if you look in the dictionary, well, first, the reason why those alif are there is because it has a fatha. So anything that has a fatha on the end of it, or ends in a tanween, the 2 fathas, then you have to put alif after it, just in Arabic. The alif is nothing to do with anything. Right, so the actual word is taf'il. Taf'ilun. Right, that's when you put a double dhamma, then you can see there's no alif there. But when you make it, if it ends grammatically like that, then you can't just say taf'ilan like that. You have to add an alif. Because if you stop, it's taf'ila, and if you continue, it's taf'ilan. So that's just the way it's written. So the alif, that last alif has nothing to do with it. The pattern is taf'il, like this. Okay? So that's one thing. As for forming the masdar, if you look on this left screen, they're already formed. When it comes to forms 2 to 10, they're already set in stone. Like Adam alayhi salam was using these root nouns, these patterns at that time. A little hyperbole in there, but you understand, right? Except for form 1. Form 1 is the naughty one. It's always doesn't fit in a box, right? So in order to find a word that's form 1, in order to find its root noun, you have to look in the dictionary. So for instance, let's take a word, right? Wa sa kha. Right. I don't believe I have a dictionary on here. Yeah, I do. Okay. So what was our word? Wa sa kha. Okay. So those are right. We know the word on the form 1, right? Say wasikha means to be dirty, right? Or he got dirty, wasikha. But we want to know what is the root noun, right? So if you look up the word, I just picked a random word. Okay, so if you see here in the bottom right corner, does everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you search for 3 letters, the first thing you'll see, right, is those 3 letters in Arabic. next to it, it'll have an English transliteration. Right? Actually, it would be nice if I can do this. Oh, Bismillah. Allahu Akbar, it worked. Okay. Now we can. Okay. So you see the word wasikhun? Right. Just across from here. And then next to it, it has English transliteration. You guys follow me?
Yeah.
Okay. If you slide over, it has something in brackets. Okay, in that brackets right, that's only there for form 1. Right, that's the root noun for form 1. Wasakhun. But unfortunately, they give it to you in English, and you have to untransliterate it. Wasakhun is the root noun. So let's do another word. Let's say the word for poverty. Right, we know it has to do with faqir, faqr. Okay, so if we find the word. Okay, so we're coming through page 8046. We're looking down, 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 down. Then we come, okay, faqara. Okay, let's break this down. Because this dictionary is set assuming that you know the 10 forms. Okay, so if you look look on this paragraph, right, you'll see that it gets to a point where it just it mentions Roman numerals. Does everyone see that, the Roman numerals? Anyone see the Roman numerals in the paragraph? The top left? Okay. What does it say for form 2, after form 2?
To pierce.
Pierce. Right. What is the masdar for form 2? It's on the screen. Taf'il. Good. Right. So that word right there is the meaning of tafqir. Tafqir means to pierce something. Right. How did I come up with this word? It's because I already know the forms. Right. I learned them. Right. Whereas form 1, the only way you can know is that when you look up the 3 letters, in this case fa, qaf, ra, right, then you'll have the English. It'll tell you how to pronounce the past tense. Faqara, right? Qara, the A's are fathas. Right, then you'll have the U and the I, which are options of how to read it in the present tense. So yafquru, if it's a U, or yafqiru, if it's an I. It tells you how to change the middle letter, and then it tells you the root noun. So how do you read this root noun in Arabic? F-A-R. Go ahead.
Is it fakrun?
Fakrun. Good. Right, so they kind of chop it up a little bit. But yeah, it means fakrun. So, right, so the root noun for form 1 is fakrun. But that we had to discover, right? Because we looked at what's in the brackets. What other forms do they have for these 3 letters? Fa, qaf, ra. What is the next Roman numeral after 2?
4.
Good. 4, and then what else?
8.
4 and 8. Okay, what is the masdar for form 4? Anyone know? It's the same as our religion.
Islam.
Islam, the form 4, right? So if'al is Islam is a form 4 verb. Right, so if'al here would be ifqar. What does ifqar mean? What does it say next to the Roman numeral 4?
To make poor.
Make someone else poor. Good. All right, so Okay, so ifqar, and then there's one more. What's the root noun for form number 8? Ifti'al. Right, so how do you make ifti'al for the letters fa, qaf, ra?
افتقار.
Iftiqar. And iftiqar means
To
To
become
become
poor.
poor.
to become poor. Good. Right, so you can see that, and with these 3 letters, there's only 4 forms. So not every word has every form, right? But the ones that they do have that are between 2 and 10, you should already know the root noun. The ones that are from form 4, you'll see that it tells you the root noun. But you'll notice here that it tells you 2 things. It gives you faqara, right? You or I, right? Mastar, faqrun. That means to pierce, correct? But if you look just after that, it says faqura with a U instead of an A, right? And then it has a U after it, and then it has the word faqara. Right, so depending on your use, and this means to be poor. So depending on how you specifically use it in form 1, it has different meanings. So form 1 is a nuisance, right? So form 1 is different than all the other forms, right? First, in how the past tense is written, right? So the past tense can either be written fa'ala, right? Fa'ula or fa'ila. Right, if we take that one by one, and this is all how to use the dictionary really, right? So if we're doing fa'ala, in English it would be fa'ala. The fatha here is signified by the A here. That's how it would be written. Just like faqara, right? Faqara, the A here is signified by there. But this is faqura, right? Because of the U. Right, so A equals fatha, U equals dhamma, and I equals what? Kasra. Okay, so if I had this word and I saw in English in the dictionary, it said this. How would I write the Arabic vowels for this word right here? This. Hang on. So if we search for this.
سميعة.
Sami'a. Good. Why did you say sami'a instead of sama'a?
Sorry, I said سميعة.
Yeah. So why the kasra on the middle letter?
Oh, right, okay. Because it's got an I there
Because it's got I.
after the M. Yeah.
Good. Good. Right. So the dictionary will not only tell you what the root noun is for form 1, but it'll tell you how to pronounce the form 1 in past and present tense. Right. So it tells you how to pronounce the past tense by the English transliteration. Right. So in this case, you have right sami'a, mi, right? That I right there being indicator of the kasra, right? Sami'a, and then it gives you a letter, and that letter helps you pronounce it in the past tense. Sorry, in the present tense. Right, so this past tense would be sami'a, right? And present tense, right? Present tense is always like this, right? If it's active, the difference always shows up on the middle letter. So A equals what? Or I should say here. Right, A equals
فتحة.
fatha. So this is sami'a, yes,
معه.
ma'u, as opposed to yes, mi'u or yes, mu'u. Right, so that little letter is signifies how you read it in the present tense, and then the brackets shows you all the possible root nouns. Right, so this word sami'a yasma'u has the first root noun is sam'un, sama'un, sama'atun, masma'un, all of those are root nouns. Right, so this one's pretty expansive. Right, so if you were to do the short version, it will be sami'a yasma'u sam'an fahuwa sami'un. Okay, sami'a yasma'u. Right, so if we break it down, form 1 differs from all the other forms, right, in 1, right, how to pronounce it, meaning the voweling, right, of the past and the present. Right, so that's either going to be, it breaks down to 6 things, right, 6 subcategories, right, and usually they use the words, right, fataha, these following 6 words to explain it to us. So fataha yaftahu, so you have a fatha here and a fatha here, they both share, right, so that would show up as this in the dictionary. Okay, that's 1. You have nasara. Have we done this before? Any bit of it?
In the last class.
Okay, yansuru. So here we have a fatha and a dhamma. Right, so that would be, what letter would I put afterwards?
You.
Good, for yansuru. Right, and then you have daraba. So these are the 3 ones that all start with fathas. Right, the only thing changing here is the middle letter. Every other letter stays the same as according, right, to normal. Yadribu. So here we have all 3 fathas on the right side, right? And we have fatha, dhamma, or kasra on the left side. This would be shown as daraba yadribu. Okay. The 4th one, so this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, would be just what we used just now, sami'a. So the first, right, the past tense now is showing up with a kasra, right? Yasma'u, right? Middle letter in the mudari' is fatha. That would show up like we did just now. Sami'a. Yasma'u. Then we have what am I missing?
Hasiba, yahsibu.
Good.
I think.
Hasiba. Very good. Hasiba. Yahsibu. So both are kasra. And so that would show up as hasiba. And then yahsibu with a kasra. Right, this would be. And then last one is karuma. Yakrumu. So here you can see the middle letter in the past tense is what?
Dhamma.
Dhamma, right? So karuma. And then we'll put a U next to it, yakrumu. So all of form 1 is going to either fall on one of these 6 patterns, right? However, you'll notice that they all match in one thing, that they have 0 extra letters. There's no extra letters, there's only 3 letters whatsoever. Right? The only difference is in how they're pronounced and the voweling of the middle letter in either the past or the present. Right? But this is crucial in order to be able to use the dictionary and to say words properly. Okay, so what I want to do is, did anyone do the work on the Surah An-Nazi'at? That is the first few lines of Surah An-Nazi'at. I believe a few people did, right, with the show of thumbs. So what we want to do is just use a few of the words that were that we found in there. So there's a lot of ism fa'il in that surah. So can anyone share any of the derivative nouns that they found in that surah?
Sure. So the first one was النازعات.
Okay, so النازعات.
And then should I keep going or?
Yeah, let's do one at a time.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
والنازعات غرقا. Right. Somebody asked me we should do tafsir of Juz Amma, and they said that because they thought it would be the easiest thing. Right, but actually, out of the whole Quran, the last juz is probably the hardest Arabic. Right, so nazi'at is ism al-fa'il from the words naza'a. Right, nun, zal, za, ayn. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to find out how it's pronounced in both the past tense, the present tense, and what is its root noun. Right, so when you open the dictionary and you look for 3 words, first paragraph you'll find is a paragraph of verbs. Right, starting with form 1. Okay, so here it says it's written like this. Oops. Okay, so how do I write my vowels on this word here? So all the dictionaries tell me is this word. Right.
3 fathas.
3 fathas. Na, za, a. Okay, so that's my past tense. Then it has an I to show me how to read the present tense. So, well, how do I read the present tense?
Yanzira.
Yan, zi, right? So the middle letter is the one that's changing, or the one that's signified. Good. So naza'a yanzi'u. The only thing we're missing now is the root noun, correct? Right, but we know it's form 1, so we're going to have to find it from the dictionary. It says in English that. Note that the apostrophe is for the ayn. That it ends in ayn, they put an apostrophe like that. How would you say that in English or in Arabic?
Naz'un.
Good, naz'un, right? Right, but generally for this scale, we usually put it always in mansub, where it has a fatha at the end. Naz'an. Right, so naz'an, right, and it means to pull, right? So naza' yanzi'u naz'an fahuwa. What's the ism fa'il?
نازع.
Nazi'un, good. Right, and that's where we get a nazi'at, right? Because nazi'un is masculine singular. Right, feminine singular would be nazi'atun, dual would be nazi'atani, and plural would be nazi'at. Right, so when nazi'at are the angels who pull out, who extract, who rip out the soul. Okay, gharqan is a masdar, form 1 masdar. Right, so gharaqa yaghriqu means to drown. Right. What is the next derivative noun that you found?
The next one I found was الناشطات.
Nashitat. Good. Okay, so let's hear from the others. Who can tell me what the root nouns are? The root letters, the 3 root letters of nashitat.
Noon, sheen, and ta.
Nun, sheen, and ta. Good. So let's write that. Okay. Now we need to discover what information in order for us to be able to use this word as a verb. Right, we need to know how to, right, since it's form 1, we need to know how to pronounce it in the past, how to pronounce it in the present, and what the root noun is, and then obviously what the meaning is. So how do I pronounce it in the past tense?
Nashita.
Nashita. Good. Right, nashita. Right, how do you know that it's a kasra on the middle letter?
there's an I after the sheen.
Good.
Yes.
You use an I to signify kasra. Okay, so how do I write the present tense? Right, you can write your letters out, right? But how to vowel them, right? Only that you know, right? It starts yef, lu, right? The middle letter can change. So what's my middle letter here? Yen,
Shatu.
Shatu.
shatu, right? Because of the A. Right? In some words, you'll see that you can read it multiple ways, right? You'll see like yen shatu, yen shutu. You'll say A and U and I are all there, right? But usually it's not like that. Right? What is my root noun here? In the parentheses,
Nashatun.
nashatun. Good. Right, but we're going to use it mansub, nashatan. Fahuwa. How do you do the ism fa'al? What's the ism fa'al of nashita? Is it, what form is this?
Form 1.
Form 1. So what's the ism al-fa'il of form 1?
Nashitun.
Nashitun. Good. Right, and then if you made this feminine plural, like it is in the verse above, right, it will be وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ. Right, again, وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ and al-arwah and nashitat. Right, those angels who take out the soul. You can see some of the meanings that are here. Right, cheerfully or right, enthusiastically, right, or to right. So it's this is both about the angels that rip out the souls and those who pulled out the souls nicely. Okay, so nashita yanshatu nashatan fahuwa nashitun. You know everything about the word, and it means to be lively. So nashita, he was lively. Yanshatu, he is being lively. Nashatan, right, is liveliness or right, or this animation, right? And fahuwa nashitun, he is a lively person, or he is a hard worker or eager, and so forth. Does that make sense to everyone here? We're kind of taking our time, but we really want to bear down and understand these forms. We're going to make our way through all 10 forms, inshallah, in the next coming classes. Today we did form 1 and 2, mostly form 1. And you'll see from here on the left that nashita also comes in form 2 and form 4. So tanshitun, nashata, tanshit, wa nashat. And anshata, they both mean to entice or to spur someone on. So anshatahu Zaydun, Zayd enticed him. Or nashatahu Zaydun, same thing, Zayd enticed him. Right? And you'll probably see on the next page that there is even a form 5, tanashata, which means to become lively. So it's intrinsic. It's are there any questions? We kind of jumped around between a few different things at once. The main and most important of them being this chart. So you don't have to memorize all the root nouns for form 1 for every word, right? Sorry, for form 2 to 10 for every word. All you have to do is memorize the pattern. Right, whereas form 1, you just have to know it. This word is the root noun is this word, and that just becomes by being accustomed to words. Right, it's not as easy as in English where you just put an ing on the end. Right, naz'a means to pull. Right, naz'un means pulling. Right, it's easy. Okay, so in Arabic you'd have to memorize. Okay, naz'an. Right, naz'un or nashita, nashatan. But the words that are commonly used will come commonly. So any questions on any of that?
I had a question about the second verse that we looked at. وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا. The first letter, the first word is an ism fa'il, but what's the second word? What type of word is it?
The second word is called a masdar mutlaq. It's an absolute root noun. It's there for emphasis. That's all. If it's the same word, it's there for emphasis. If it's a different word, it's there for description. Right? So gharqan means to drown. Right? So it means to be completely engulfed in something. Right? So nashitat or the nazi'at are those angels who forcefully rip out the souls in such a way it's like a thorn, right, being pulled out of cotton, and that's where gharqan comes in. That it's harsh. So it's a descriptive word. It's very hard level of Arabic because there's a lot that's just implied. It's not actually mentioned. Right. So Allah is taking an oath by the pullers or the rippers. Right. So it doesn't mention angels, but that's what it means. So, and any other questions? النازعات غرقا والناشطات نشطا فالسابحات سبحا الناشرات نشرا فالمدبرات أمرا. All of those are ism fa'il. So if there's no questions, inshallah, we're going to do form 3 on for next week. Maybe not all of them, but we did form 1 and 2. If you see here on the right side of the screen, right, and you can combine that with your knowledge, now your new knowledge of how to use the dictionary, right, and you have the chart there. This is actually a short version. You have the longer chart that actually has each of the forms spelled out. Right, so what we want to do is everyone to memorize form 1 and form 2, right, in past tense and present tense as best as possible, and to cap it off by memorizing the short versions of form 1 and form 2 that are here on the screen. Inshallah, I'll have these notes emailed to you. They are actually attached to last week's notes. So if you want to scroll up and see what we did last week, then you're more than welcome to. Okay, so any questions that are, you can either ask them next week or on the forum, inshallah. Barakallahu fikum. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Jazakumullah khair.
جزاك الله خير.
Assalamu alaikum.